Hey guys, Matt Lighty here, and this video I just really wanted to make because an interesting point came up during this week's stream that I thought deserved like expounding on and talking about, because it's something a concept that gets danced around pretty commonly, especially in solo self-found, and that's like the concept of long-term value of certain things in solo self-found, especially when you're planning to collect every unique like I am for the All for One series, and how it totally skews your perspective on playing the game in the long run. So what I mean by that is this. It all started with I was handing in div cards and valing things, and then this comment from Twitch chat came up from Mr. Pico. Mr. Pico, what a great name. And basically said, you know, why not val the Poet's Pens? And I have 2 cards for Poet's Pens, and I'm not playing with Poet's Pens, and it kind of sparked this conversation. So the reason... So okay, it's a good meme, Mister, and I'll tell you why, Mr. Pecco, is because in solo self-found, especially for like the All for One series, it isn't even this. It's like not the space, it's the negative space that'll fuck you in the long run. And what I mean by that is, you say val the Poet's Pens because why not? Great question. And the answer is, I have no reason, you know, not to val Poet's Pens. And then in the same respect, I have no reason and nothing to gain from valing Poet's Pens. So by that logic, an unvaled Poet's Pen is a resource. It's a finite resource I have. I have 2 unvalid Poet's Pens. If I were to val them, I now have 0 unvalid Poet's Pens. And the outcome, in the best case scenario, means nothing for me. So by that logic, it makes more sense to not val them in the chance that down the road, they either add val implicits, Poet's Pen becomes part of a recipe for a different unique, anything. Anything is better than the outcome pool I currently have. And that crazy person logic is how I have to think for half the time. It's the reason why I have almost 200 Ancient Orbs in solo self-found. Alright, so before we move on, let's just quickly talk about the Ancient Orb thing, because this is actually an interesting point for my series and for anyone who's collecting uniques in the long run solo self-found. Ancient Orbs are a very, very finite, resource. I have 17 in League here, and in solo self-found standard, which is where all of my progress congregates and it's funneled to, I have a pretty decent amount at the moment, 143, so I'm at like 160 Ancient Orbs at the moment, right? And Ancient Orbs reforge unique items as another same item class. So it can make a belt into a belt, it can make a shield into a shield, it can even do specified things like make a shield that's 2x4 size into a same shield that's 2x4 size, compared to a shield that's 2x1 size. So it has certain constraints to it in that. But anything that's an Ancient Orb target is going to be kind of not the same chance as Scour chancing it, but there's weighted factors that come into mind. So for example, if I were to try to Ancient Orb for something I'm missing in amulets per se, like something like Badge of the Brotherhood, the odds of me doing that in the same scenario where I'd be Scour chancing is probably pretty much both a shot in the dark. There's maybe 1 in 10,000 chance orbs to hit Badge of the Brotherhood. It could be 1 in 3,000 Ancient Orbs to hit it, which is like a massive scale of gathering a finite resource. I say finite resource because technically you could farm Ancient Orbs forever through the entirety, but your resource is time, right? I mean, to me to farm Ancient Orbs forever, I'd have to just do what? I'd do nothing but beachheads and I guess things that drop generic currency and hope to hit the pool of Ancient Orbs. It's not really realistic. So Ancient Orbs for me are a finite resource in that I'm only going to have maybe a couple hundred each league. So what I direct that couple hundred to is super important. Now for me, the reason I save them at the moment is because of a helmet. That helmet is Ylfbin's Trickery, which is a Tempest exclusive unique that is just extremely rare to drop as a generic unique from things like a Helm Divination card, or Bestiary giving you a helmet, or proccing it from Time Lost Incubator, anything like those kind of 1 in a million jack-in-the-box, shot-in-the-dark things. It's extremely rare from that, but it's also something that'll eventually happen. So until they basically add Tempest through Zana, or have a way of getting the League tag active, there's no real reason for me to attempt to use Ancient Orbs, because at the moment, this is the best use of it for me. There are a lot of Helms, but compared to me doing, amulets for Badge of the Brotherhood, or for rings for like a, Shavron's Revelation, which are like the only couple things I'm missing that can be Ancient Orbed, Ylfbin's Trickery at the moment is the best target. But the longer I wait, the bigger the chance that I'll eventually get this, and then my best target will then shift to something potentially more easy to obtain, making my Ancient Orbs just nothing but accrue value over time. Now, the same concept can be applied to many things, but let's get back to the clip and we'll talk about that afterwards. Now I have to think like a goddamn Spurgatron 9000, because what if down the road they add something, right? It's just the same reason that I have to keep, like, the reason I don't hand in dagger things, because what if, I don't know that next league they're going to add a base game unique dagger, even though I have every dagger in the game. They might add a base game unique dagger that I could potentially hit with the Assassin's Favor. So I have to save all my Assassin's Favors, because maybe next league I can hand in 50 in Standard and actually hit the dagger. In Standard, not even in the fucking league that it comes out in. That's why I have to act that way and plan for that type of stuff. So what previous stream Lighty is talking about when it comes to divination cards and bestiary is actually the final point of this talk. Is those are the two main things that it's worth saving in the long run to transition from League to solo self-found Standard. For the All-for-One series or for unique collections in general. And that's being, conservative with your bestiaries and your hand-ins for generic unique divination cards. Now, if we look at my daggers I am missing 0. I literally have every dagger in the game. No new daggers were introduced. I have them all. So, by that logic, there's a dagger divination card called Assassin's Favor. I have nothing to gain from handing it in, aside from the enjoyment of my viewers, and that does weigh on me for certain decisions. But the reason that's so good to just not remove Assassin's Favor from my filter and still collect them, because we don't know that next league a dagger might be introduced that is a league exclusive or even a generic dagger that I can actually hit with Assassin's Favor. Now, this thing at the moment has no value. It has a latent value, if you will. Has the same value as a chunk of C4. Until you explode it, it's just a hunk of clay. So for the most part, Assassin's Favor at the moment does a fuck all. But next league, the league after that, 2 leagues from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, 17, you get the idea. So eventually this thing might, gain some actual value, and that's why I have to hold on to them. That's why I still collect them. That's why I cherish them, because every single shot I have at getting something I might need down the road could just be sitting in my stash this whole time. And obviously divination cards are one of the bigger representations of this, because you have things like, again, gold rings. This is actually a great example. There used to be only a couple gold rings in the game. I don't know if can I search by gold ring? Are you fucking me here? Andav was the one, Ventors was the second one, and there's supposed to be Highwayman, but I guess that's just not even showing in the tab right now. Well, that's okay. Well, they actually added they did add one. It's called Highwayman. That's a gold ring, so it's very common, so it's not an issue, but, if it was, there we are. But things like Heterochromia, 2 stones are kind of rare, categorically in our history. We have the Barracks Rings and Call the Brotherhoods. This is maybe a better example. And the second part of that is Bestiary. Bestiary is, fantastic mechanic for solo self-found, especially for unique completion, because you can hit all the league exclusives that are not gated behind bosses or unique shenanigans. But, things like Flask, Boot, Gloves, Jewel, Dagger, Mace, all this type of stuff, very similar to divination cards for me. Everything in this category is something I have completed, where it really just saving them is nothing but gravy down the road. I have all the flasks in the game that I can get from this. The only one I'm missing is an Incursion exclusive, which isn't even in the pool of flasks to get. And if you're wondering what is the pool of things you can hit, assume it's everything but things that drop off of bosses or crafting recipes. That's the rule of thumb. So I have 4 of these, and I have 5 more coming from League right now, meaning I'll have 9. So I have 9 shots of getting a new flask that might come out if they introduce it. I think that went pretty well on her. I mean, honestly, people say that my editing is sometimes a little fucky, and it was like 10 takes, but I think overall, yeah, I mean, so yes, from divination cards, little pieces of paper, to enslaved creatures, this is the basis for how I'm going to eventually fill in some small gaps, ideally down the road. So, through the combination of, trading cards and Einhard, I guess eventually this naked man will get there. Either way, that's been this little expose into the thought process of how, Jesus, I'm stuck in this fucking lantern, of how I have to go about thinking in solo self-found for down the road projects. And it does kind of skew your mind and make you a little bit, a little bit crazy. But I enjoy it. You enjoy it. I'm Matt Lighty, and I'll see you guys on stream. Take it easy, guys. Oh, hey, I'm just padding the video so it's 10 minutes long. Don't mind me.